Randolph is accused of the double murder for the deaths of his sixth wife, Sharon, and her hitman. Randolph allegedly that hitman hired to kill his wife. Now, court is expected to begin about 1:30 Eastern Time, and Law and Crime correspondent Melissa McCarty has more on what we can expect later today. So let's listen.
It is day 2 of the Thomas Randolph retrial. For the first time in this case, a woman named Lizzie will be called to testify. That is Randolph's girlfriend he had during his marriage to Sharon Randolph, his sixth wife. The state is painting the picture of an unhappy marriage between Tom and Sharon Randolph, which included infidelity and financial problems. But the defense revealed it was a relationship well known to his wife and her family, and that the financial issues stemmed from other concerns, such as Sharon's gambling, also painting the picture of a couple who were very happy together. Now, her daughter Colleen and 2 of Sharon's friends also testified. They all said Sharon told them she wanted a divorce and that they were running out of money. Now, in opening statements, 2 very different perspectives were portrayed here. One of Randolph conspiring with his friend and handyman Mike Miller to kill his wife, saying he groomed Miller within a 2-month period to kill, versus the defense, who says Miller used the time he spent with the couple to learn what they had, to take advantage of them, to steal their possessions, jewelry, and money when they were out to dinner in May of 2008. Coming up later today, jurors will hear the 911 call from Randolph on the night of the murder. And also, they're going to hear from one of the key detectives in Las Vegas, Melissa McCarty, Law and Crime Network.
Well, there we go. There's my words, key detective. So let me introduce my guest for today, Dr. Ken Lang, a former homicide detective, or homicide detective, I should say, because you're never a former homicide detective. You're always a doctor. You're always a detective. And, of course, one of our famous prosecutors, but I will say former, here on the Law and Crime Network, because he now does defense work, Gene Rossi, you know him well. But, Ken, let me start with you, because before you have a prosecution, you have an investigation. What did the investigation reveal here in the high points that you believe for conviction?
So the investigation actually is a very integral part of this case because the defendant in this case has actually made not one but several statements to police. And when defendants do that, that actually gives investigators a time frame, a timeline in which they can go back and look at physical evidence and show whether or not the science can corroborate what is being said, or actually show that it's false. And then we find that a lot of the evidence at the scene, particularly with the ballistics, is not corroborating what the defendant had said in their statements. And so with that, the prosecution is mounting up a pretty good presentation here to make for a conviction.
And buckle your seatbelts, Gene Rossi. This defendant has had 6 wives. 4 of them are dead. The evidence of the deaths of one of them certainly can come in because this conviction was reversed based on that. But he's given a lot of statements. Tell me about what they are and why they are important to both the defense and maybe the prosecution.
Well, my fellow guest Ken hit the nail on the head. Whenever a defendant or a target makes statements to the police, especially if it's recorded, preferably by video, law enforcement prosecutors go through those statements with a fine-tooth comb. You analyze every phrase, every word, every comma, every period, and then what you do is you compare it to the truth, and then you compare it to the forensics. So it's sort of a 3-step process. But his version of events will be analyzed by the prosecution and the jury, and it will either convict him or acquit him.
And he does like to talk, but while we wait and we know what to expect and we know the high points of the prosecution and the investigation, why don't we recap some testimony? And that's when Sharon Randolph's daughter took the stand, as well as her friend Deirdre. Both testified about the relationship Sharon Randolph had with Thomas Randolph. So let's first listen to Colleen Byer, and then we'll listen to Deirdre Marley.
When you were visiting them, do you remember Mr. Randolph ever bringing up the topic of life insurance?
Yes.
How frequently would he talk about life insurance?
Oh, well, quite frequently. I mean, I don't know exactly how many times, but...
Was this early on in the relationship?
Yes.
Before they're married?
I don't know about that.
Okay, but it was something that he brought up a lot?
I think so, in my opinion.
Okay. Something that he talked about maybe more than one time?
Yes.
More than 5 times?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you remember him talking about his and her earns?
Yes.
When was that?
That was early on.
When they're dating?
Yeah.
Okay. During this time period, which is about 2 years, right? From 06 to your mom dies in 08. During this 2-year period, were you aware that Mr. Randolph had another relationship?
Yes.
Did you actually talk to him about that relationship, and did he acknowledge it?
Yes.
Were you aware that there were times that he would leave your mom and go to this other person?
Yes.
How many times were you aware of that happening?
I can't give an exact number, but I would say more than 5.
Okay. And does that mean like, hey, I'm leaving for the weekend, or did he like pack up all of his stuff?
I'm not sure about packing up all of his stuff, but he would be gone for quite some time, a couple weeks.
Okay. And then he'd come back?
Right.
Okay. Did he, well, let me ask you this. When that happened, what was your mom's reaction emotionally?
She was very distraught and upset, crying.
Crying and upset. When did it tend to happen? When would he go?
Usually around the holidays or special occasions like Valentine's or birthdays or things like that.
And then he'd come back?
Yeah.
And your mom accepted him coming back on some level?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Randolph ever complain to you about your mom's gambling?
Yes.
And what did he say about it?
That she was just burning through money.
Did he seem upset by it?
Yes.
Did it seem like between the two of them in their household, was money tight, or was money an issue, or did you have any impression of that?
I didn't have an impression of that.
Okay. Did you, during this time period, ever meet someone by the name of Michael Miller?
Yes.
When was it in relation to your mom's death that you met him?
A few months before.
A few months before, so definitely in 2008?
Yes.
Where did you first meet him?
I don't recall.
Were you at your mom's house, or do you know?
Probably.
And who introduced you to him?
Probably my mother.
Okay. And what was your understanding of like who he was or how he fit in?
I heard he was just a handyman. He was helping Randolph fix the patio cover.
Okay. In those months when you had been introduced to him and you were kind of coming over to your mom's a couple times a week, did you see Mr. Miller?
Yes.
What was he doing during those times?
Mostly I just saw him following Tommy around.
Okay. Like following him around the house?
Right. And around the house, outside, inside.
Okay.
They would go to Home Depot or something.
Were they sort of together moving around a lot?
Yes.
Were they having conversations that you were a part of?
No.
Did they ever, there's a room in the house that had drums in it. Were they ever in that room?
Did you say drums?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Was the door shut, or what, you know?
The door was shut.
Okay. So they were having conversations that you and your mom couldn't hear?
Yes.
What was your impression of Mr. Miller? Was he a loud person, a quiet person, or?
Very quiet.
Did he appear to be someone that had a lot of money?
No.
When he was over at the house, did you ever see him like working on like home improvement projects or anything like that?
I didn't see him actually do any work.
Okay. Did you ever hire him to come over to your house?
Don't think so.
Okay. When you would see him, did he ever participate in or be invited to stay for dinner or that kind of thing?
At my mother's house.
And so it was just like, hey, stay for dinner kind of thing, or?
Yes.
Yeah, at those dinners, would he be talkative or was he quiet? How would you describe him?
I thought he was quiet.
At this time, did you think she was legally married?
I did not,
Why is that?
because I had told her not to get legally married.
So you thought it was just the Mexico thing?
I thought it was just the mock wedding.
Okay, did you say that to her? Something like, hey, that shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, you didn't technically marry him, something like that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Does she correct you and correct your misunderstanding at that point?
I had told Sharon, I says, well, it wouldn't be difficult to get divorced because you never married Tommy.
And then she says what?
And she said, yes, I did, Deidre. Talk to me into getting married.
So do you start to give her advice at this point from what you could help her do legally to get a divorce?
Yes, I did.
So what sort of advice did you offer or help did you offer?
She had told me she had no money, that her money was gone, that they had gone through all of her money.
Okay.
And I said, okay. I said, that won't be a problem. I said, I do know attorneys, I know paralegals, or I will be glad to go down to the self-help center with you at Legal Aid, and we will draw up divorce papers.
Okay. Does she talk about the house at all?
I asked Sharon what she had Tommy's name on,
Okay, and what did she tell you?
and she told me that she had his name on the house, but she had taken it off.
Unfortunately, I would object to that as hearsay, just for the record.
Okay, just for the record, the court has previously ruled. Ma'am, you can answer the question.
Go ahead. You can keep it where you done. I don't know if you finished your answer.
She told me that she had his name on the house, but she took it off.
Okay. Understood. Does she mention life insurance during this conversation?
Yes.
What did she say about that?
I said, what else are you involved with as far as Tommy is concerned? And she said, he does have a life insurance policy on me.
When you heard that, did that generate a reaction out of you? When you heard that, what were your feelings at that point?
I told Sharon, I said, Sharon, this is a red flag to me. I said, now I'm worried for you.
What did you ask her to do?
I asked her to come and stay with me.
Okay. What else did you tell her?
I told her that I was worried for her and that I wanted her to come and stay with me because I wanted her to be safe.
And how did she respond to that offer?
She said, I know, Deidre, and she sounded worried, but she said, I want to be in my home.
Gene Rossi. Okay, now Nevada has amended their rules to allow certain statements by people who are now victims because of a famous trial some years ago that they reversed a conviction on. This hearsay, to me, is absolutely devastating, going to the motive for the murder. What are your thoughts?
Oh, when you add life insurance proceeds to any murder case, especially between a husband and wife or vice versa, that is the ultimate motive. And as the viewers know, as the people on this panel know, you included, motive is not an element of any crime, but it sure is a great piece of evidence when the government has motive. And money, jealousy, hatred, those are three predominant motivations when it comes to murder, especially of a spouse.
Yeah, and this is one of the ones who are dead, 4 to the 6. But Ken, can you just explain something to me? He's having an affair. He's had all these wives. I mean, he's not George Clooney or Timothy Chalamet. I don't get it. Tell me, what is the psychiatry, the charm? What is with him if indeed he turns out to be somebody who is a black widower?
And so, yeah, in the testimony that we're hearing and these issues that are coming up, it would seem that he is quite the playboy and really enjoys going out and just living a lavish lifestyle. And so it goes back towards that need for the money and having to maintain that lifestyle. And again, motive's not an element of the crime. It doesn't have to be proved, but jurors, when they're sitting in the box, the one question that they are always asking themselves is why. And when they can hear these kinds of motives coming forward, the lavish lifestyle and whatnot, that really answers the question, but it also becomes the glue that pulls together all of the evidence and puts together the big picture for them.
Right, and both of you are absolutely right. You do not need motive, but it certainly helps. And as a matter of fact, the case we will talk about after the break, I'm sure some of the jurors couldn't answer the question of why somebody would kill their best friend, and that's the Austin Ford case, which ended in a second mistrial with a second hung jury on Friday. So when we come back, we'll discuss that, and we'll watch some clips from there. Stay with us.